like fucking ladle that's just like cast iron. Slap it in the bag. Trick or treat, kids. Happy Halloween.
I'm Austin.
And I'm Cloud.
And this is We Watch Spookies.
Today's movie is Michael Jackson's Ghosts. This is a 1996 short horror film directed by Stan Winston, starring Michael Jackson and Pat Dade. Have a plot synopsis.
A group of townsfolk, led by a very angry guy, break into the mansion that Michael Jackson lives in and then tells him to leave. And he's like, all right, we'll play a game. If I scare you, you leave. If I don't, I'll leave. And then they proceed to do song and dance in standard Michael Jackson fashion. Possesses the dude, scares him, and then he runs off. So he doesn't leave.
Yeah, the thing I was worried about was that he runs off out the window, and I didn't realize until after that, oh wait, they're still on the first floor, so it's okay. He didn't just jump out of a window. He ran out of a window onto the ground, which is of equal height. So,
and you know, like I know it's like they're ghosts and everything, but still, like someone's got to fix that window.
Well, I mean, I guess, yeah. I'm not really sure how the ghostiness of everything works. I guess they're all ghosts technically, but I guess they are all ghosts because he's like the family, and then he does all kinds of ghostly stuff. But I don't know if he's a ghost or if he's just like he's the only one left alive, but he has like ghost
skeleton powers.
Yeah, skeleton powers or what. So this is directed by Stan Winston, as well as with makeup by Stan Winston, which is quite significant, as well as supposed co-writing by Stephen King, although there's so little story that it's like, well, okay, I guess.
What was written?
I mean, somebody wrote some of this. None of it feels especially Stephen King-like, so I'm not sure which parts are him and which parts are this guy Mike Garris, who I'm not familiar with. Let's see. Career. What did he do? Oh, look at that. We haven't. I don't know. Well, actually, we might have talked about this before. There was a show, like an anthology series in 2008, called Fear Itself. It only ran one season. I have the DVD set of it, and it's really neat because it's in like this plastic, like blow molded tombstone kind of shape. It's really impractical for putting on the shelf, but it's it's normal like Blu-ray case size. So it's not like it's a full tombstone size or anything crazy, but it's shaped like that, and it's on 2 double-sided discs. But it was on NBC, and it has some kind of scary episodes. There's actually one of my other favorite things in this kind of thing that's on that's one of the episodes, which is I remember it as being the last episode, but that might not be true. But there's like this guy that lives on this farm, and they have this like house that I like so want, that's all made out of rustic wood and stuff, and he goes out into the field during a storm one night, and he comes back, and it's like, remember when we did Chiller on the show, and like he's cryogenically frozen, then he comes back and something is wrong and different. It's kind of like that, except then he's sick in bed, but then he's changing, and then he becomes this like cannibal like monster thing. And it's really good, and I remember it as being pretty scary, at least at the time. And it has several other good episodes, including one of the episodes has the main guy and the main woman character from Psych. I can't remember their character or actors' names, even though I watched not that entire series, but most of it. Sean, I guess is his name. I can't remember her name. I seem to remember it as Juliet or something, but that might not be true. But they're both in it, and they act basically like their characters, even though they're not their characters, and like a zombie outbreak takes place on New Year's Eve or something. I remember there's a gazebo in it prominently, and I don't really remember any other detail of any of the other episodes. But so he is the creator of that show some years past when he co-wrote on this with Michael and Stephen King and Stan Winston. So I do know who he is, it turns out. I just didn't know who he was before. But so this was a short film, which I thought I remembered was shown on TV, which I guess has been since, which is the way I saw it the first time years ago. They show it on Halloween, or they used to show it on Halloween somewhat commonly, although I only remember it one particular time. But it apparently wasn't. It was shown, it was released on Laserdisc and VHS and VCD, if you remember that. But also as a pre kind of thing as a short, even though it's long, it's 39 minutes. When the Stephen King adapted movie Thinner came out, also in '96. So I guess that's the Stephen King connection as well. But it's basically TV length, or a little shorter than TV length. But the Stan Winston thing, which, as I've mentioned before, like my favorite horror movie is Pumpkinhead, which is also directed by Stan Winston and with significant special makeup effects and creature effects and things by Stan Winston. And this has, which I do really appreciate, because you don't know. I mean, this is '96, so we know now there's only so much that they could have done with computer graphics at the time. But they put this thing in the credits at the end, or underneath the credits. So film under credits also, yes. And it is film, although that probably isn't. That's probably videotape, because who's running film doing BTS stuff? But it would have shown on film. And the rest of it's on film. Kodak film, actually. That they show all of this, like him being made up in the various different characters and the motion capture of the skeleton dancing, and
the best part.
You you find out that he's actually the mayor, and actually before it shows on the credits, because the credits run kind of long, and before you get to the cast, then you've already seen him being put into the mayor makeup, and because when you're watching it, you think, wait, did they get a guy who looked like a mayor of a town that would go like torch mobbing off somewhere that could also dance like Michael Jackson, or what?
Or nope.
But
we're just gonna take Michael Jackson and turn him into a mayor.
Yeah, and because we have Stan Winston and he's basically actual magic. So it's, and it doesn't, like, you don't know at all. Like, you can't tell. See, I feel like this is going to be like, well, we gave Interstellar 2 stars, so what? Like, well, that used to be a runner for a long time on the show, that we just had all of this, at least I had all of this, like, 2-star Interstellar guilt when we would rate other things. But at least for a while now, it seems like we're going to keep coming back to the terrible gray hair in the Love Bug. Or it's like, when you look at, I guess that's 30 years before this, and so maybe wig tech had come a long way, but just even when you see them in the stuff under the credits, putting the hair on, they just have this whole hair piece. They put it on after the rest of the makeup is on, and then it just looks like hair. It just looks like that's a guy's hair on a guy. It's not even that guy. It's actually Michael underneath, and there's just like no suspicion at all, because you watch the whole movie, or the whole short, and you don't think, that's not a guy. That's makeup. That's somebody else. And maybe it's not, you don't think it's Michael, but it's not that guy. But it just looks like a guy, because Stan Winston's makeup is amazing. So, and is maybe the most achievement thing of this, because I think it's also one of the things everything says, including the back of the. Now I have this on DVD, which it was never officially released on. It's actually like, I guess probably a bootleg sold copy of a rip of the VHS. Actually, you can see that it used to be a VHS if you look at the bottom of the screen. Because unfortunately, they never released it, because the Michael Jackson estate has all this great stuff, including every concert that he ever performed, recorded on video or film, depending. And we have so little content that's ever actually been released in official formats. But this... where was I going?
I have no idea.
I don't know either. it says on the back of it and also here that it could also be classified as a long form music video, which I guess if we're going in with the style of music video that Michael Jackson basically invented, because it is intercut with non-music video things happening occasionally. And as a music video, long form or not, and even as a Michael Jackson video, like, of course the choreography is really good and the dancing is really good, but because of the time this was in, this is 96, so this is a year after the release of the History album, and then also the sort of remix version of some of the songs, which is called Blood on the Dance Floor, which didn't actually come out until a year after this, but it uses some of the early versions of the music that was going to be part of that album. It's not some of his best music. Like,
No.
it's fine, and there are actually some songs that are remembered from the History album. Earth Song, They Don't Care About Us, Stranger in Moscow, which I really like the actual video for. You Are Not Alone. So there are sort of big songs from the History album, but it's kind of the beginning of the end for Michael albums, and also it's mixed with the actual History album itself is 2 discs, and it's mixed with re-releases of songs from earlier albums, because it's supposed to be like it has this past, present, and future kind of premise to it, which it actually says on the front of it. So it's this like stuff I did before, because it's history, but it's also his story. Like HIS is in all caps and STORY, or TORY is in lowercase. So it's his story and also history. So then there's the current stuff, and then also the like this is where we're going stuff. So it's this multi-layer thing supposedly, and it sort of suffers as being an album because of that, because it's not really an album. It's kind of like a greatest hits mixed with a few new songs, and the few new songs, or not the few new songs, because there's more songs than that, but the few songs that are the really well known and the good songs from it are the few songs, and so it's not the greatest of the album. And coming after Thriller, Bad, and Dangerous, which are the preceding 3 albums. Even, I guess, before that, you had Off the Wall, which has a couple of well-known songs on it, although less so, and it's really Thriller that's the giant one. And then after this, you would have Invincible, which nobody's heard anything from, basically, which is kind of a shame, because there's a few okay things on it. It suffers from being tied to that music. And also because Thriller and the Thriller music video directed by John Landis, who had just before he directed that music video directed American Werewolf in London, that exists. And so then it's almost impossible not to compare, like, this is a Michael Jackson music video story kind of thing that's horror, supernatural themed. Although there's many more characters. It's longer, of course, although the Thriller video is significantly long for a music video. It's like, what, almost 20 something minutes. That's probably wrong. Can't remember offhand. It's significantly long when it's in its entire version. And then you don't have like the makeup. Although did Stan Winston do the makeup in Thriller? Did he do the wolf mask? I don't remember. He must have. Because, well, no, it might have been Michael Westmore. Because Michael Westmore is also actual real life magic when it comes to makeup and creature effects and stuff. That's sitting right there as the biggest thing to ever happen in music video history, probably still. That it's impossible not to compare it to at least a little bit. Even though it's 17 years earlier or something.
I think it's just because it's Michael Jackson.
Well, it's Michael Jackson, so like, what are you going to think? You're gonna think it's Thriller? Well, yeah. I mean, and I try not to compare it, but it's just, it's there. So, and as we said at the beginning, like, what, Stephen King wrote what? Because there's not a whole heck of a lot of story. There's more story, I guess, than oh, we ran out of gas in the 50s. Guess we've got to walk. Guess we're probably going to do it. Oh, wait, I didn't tell you I'm also a werewolf. So, which is basically the entire story of Thriller.
It's like this is either going to turn out to be a porno or
like
a serial killer kind of thing. We didn't actually run out of gas.
You know, and then she's actually like, really? Like she is almost like she doesn't believe it. Like, you're just saying that, so we'll have to walk through the woods and do it, right? Like, we didn't really run out of gas. But something I do really like though is the like Wizard of Oz like transition between black and white and color. Yeah. It starts out in black and white, and they're the torch mob, and then they walk through the house for a while, and it's black and white, and then it's a doorway, and the hallway that they're in is in black and white, but the everything through the doorway is color. Yeah, which is much easier to do even at this point because you already had digital intermediate. Edit Droid already exists. You could kind of frame. Well, it wasn't even Edit Droid at this point. It was already Avid by this point, probably. And so you could frame off around the doorway and just say, this is the part that's like, we shot it in color. Because that's the thing is, you can always tell when something was shot in color and desaturated to make black and white. It always looks different than real black and white. And that's when, if you want to see an example of real black and white in a relatively modern time in a movie that is also otherwise color and both parts are on film in their actual coloration, go and watch the opening 2 scenes of Casino Royale, because that beginning part with the bathroom fight and him in the office with the section chief is on real black and white film, and then the rest of the movie is on real color film. So it's not. It's shot by the same cinematographer with the same director and the same brand of film stock, but it's just actual black and white and actual color, and you can see the difference between when there's a difference in the grain, there's a difference in the way things disappear into shadow when they fall into black, and it just never, and it's not even like, you can sort of replicate the same thing digitally if you actually shoot black and white rather than shooting in color and desaturating and editing. You can still tell. Now, there's no such thing as black and white videotape, so you can't do it in the sort of video era, but or when you were editing on video, regardless of whatever you shot on. There's this whole period of TV that's like that. As far as I know, there's no such thing as black and white videotape, because that doesn't really make any sense, because that would be like having specifically like audio tape that sounded a particular way or something. It's just like magnetism. It doesn't know what's on it, so it's different.
How does it work?
How does it? No, it's not miracles. Stan Winston is almost miracles. Magnets are not. So we know how they work, physics and stuff. I mean, the way they did it in The Wizard of Oz was they actually painted everything black and white in that transition moment. The earlier part is actually black and white, but then the transition where she walks out of the house, that one shot where it's the one wall of the house and the back of her dress. So she's wearing a black, like a sepia tone dress. She has sepia makeup on. The walls and all the props and everything are painted sepia tone, and then everything else is just outside is what color it is. So they had to do it in a physical way and cheat it because it's 1938, and they can't do it any other way but physically. And there's no way to like section off a piece of a film frame and say, this is the part we're going to develop in color and this is the part we're going to develop in black and white. There was just no way to do it. And you couldn't even mat it off in an optical printer yet, because they didn't even have optical printers really. So now, even in 96, we could do it in a digital way. So it's not quite the achievement, but it has a really neat kind of effect. And also sort of give you this sort of, oh yeah, Michael Jackson was in a Wizard of Oz kind of thing. In an earlier time, because he was in the Wiz, in the 70s. So,
well, like I kind of thought it was funny because whenever they go into the house and the door closes on them, and they walk up to one door and that door closes on them, and then one opens up, and then you could see like the God rays and they're blue, and all I could think of was fucking James Cameron.
Oh yeah.
Like, darn you, James Cameron, and your blue lights.
Yeah, because the moon is blue, so. I mean, Stan Winston did do the original Terminator puppetry, didn't he? In at least the first movie, I think. So there is a Stan Winston James Cameron connection, I think. Is that wrong? The Terminator. It feels like it's gotta be. How could it not be? Because Michael Westmore does makeup, but he doesn't do like creature effects in the same way. Like he doesn't do puppetry and stuff typically. Reproduction. Hang on. Yes, Stan Winston. So it is, yeah. So there is a connection already between the two, and he's directing it. So I don't know if he's like, let's make it look like James Cameron. Cinematography is actually by Russell Carpenter, who I can find very little information about. So I don't know. I don't know if he shoots like James Cameron otherwise, because he has no information about him. Now there are also things which are actually CG, because the skeleton it's not a prop or a puppet, because it has to actually be Michael Jackson moving. And I guess maybe there might have been some way to physically connect some kind of puppetry apparatus, Operation RC thing to Michael and have him operate a skeleton puppet in real time. But I don't know, like that would be so much mechanism. And then he has to spin at the end. So maybe maybe not. So it's fine. One thing that I do have a significant problem with is the continuous strobe light like lightning that is through the entire thing almost. Like, that's a little unnecessary. Stop? It's a little distracting.
Well, it's constant as an active strobe light. It doesn't even simulate.
Yeah. I mean,
lightning.
It doesn't like strobe so you don't like you miss frames or anything, but there is just like continuous flashes in a fairly consistent pattern.
Yeah,
and
it gets a bit ridiculous, and it's
I
won't say it's jarring because stuff like that
kind of ridiculous.
Because stuff like that doesn't bother me as much, but at the same time, it doesn't add anything.
No, I mean, it's not like the 47 meters down flashlights or various other things which have had problematic shining lights across the screen in extreme ways and otherwise dark circumstances that we have complained about on and off the show. But it's still not additive and maybe actively damaging in a way. And it's, I guess, maybe because we don't hear any thunder most of the time because the music is going on. And so how could we possibly hear the thunder? Which actually, that's a question I had. Do the townsfolk hear the music?
I have no idea.
Because otherwise...
It reminds me of Stomp. So it's like everybody making the music themselves, so there's nothing playing. So I'm like...
But it's not, though, because there is music. It's not... I mean, there is that part where they do just, like, bang their heels against the floor for a period of time. And there are parts where...
The sharp breathing to make a beat.
Yeah, just the breathing and the hee-hee stuff that you do better than I do.
I was about to do it until you said that.
There are parts where there isn't anything but physical and vocal sounds, but then there are parts where there is music playing, and if the townsfolk don't hear the music, they must be even more confused than they seem like. But they must be, because it's ghost magic or something. I do like, just looking back on this, the extreme 90ness of the kids' hair.
Yeah.
Like because it's just the kids, because the townsfolk are all buttoned down and ordinary and strident looking. But then like one kid has like a coconut cut, and then there's like the black kid with the 90s black kid haircut, which is like Michael Jordan kind of, except not quite as short. And then there's the kid with like my hair is everywhere because I like just got my hair blown around by whatever that guy who used to be in the Burger King commercials is, busting through my closet, showing up. And it's just like it's just theirs are so of that period of time.
Looks like they're about to pull out Capri Sun.
It does look like they're about to pull up a Capri Suns. They don't, disappointingly. But did you ever get a Capri Sun like trick or treating?
No,
Because I didn't either, and that seems like a giant missed opportunity for like if this episode is in October, but it's before Halloween. If you're giving out stuff for trick or treating, like stock up on Capri Suns, hand them out. Kids will think it's dynamite.
No, please. You get like 6, and it's like $4.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you know how much money you had to spend on fucking Capri Suns?
Some of you out there have money. Like, I didn't say if you can't afford it, do it.
If
you're the kind of person that gives out full-size candy bars for Halloween,
okay, yeah, if you're one of them people,
give out Capri Suns instead, because the parents will be like, oh, it's just juice, it's healthy, and also it's sealed, so it's safe, unless you like syringed it in there and like foiled CIA siliconed it over, which you probably didn't do. It seems unlikely.
Well, it's like that whole thing about like people passing out edibles for like no one is giving your children edibles.
I mean, they could be.
No. Well, see, that's the thing is they're not.
Why would you waste money on it? Also, you're not going to get to see the results of it. Why would you do this?
Exactly. We're gonna trick these kids. Like, it's not even in a package. Like, you know. Okay. So okay. Of all the years I've went trick or treating, yes, we've always checked the candy. Check. But I don't really understand the whole concept of checking the candy in the same regard where it's like, okay, so there was a lady whom we knew, and she would be like out in her yard with like a big fucking kettle.
Uh-huh.
And
was she
like,
a witch?
Yeah, she was like a witch, and she would either do like kettle corn, or she would do like
literal kettle corn.
Literal, like there's like a fire and shit, and you're not supposed to go up to it. And she just got this bag and this like fucking ladle that's just like cast iron. Slap it in the bag. Trick or treat, kids! Happy Halloween! I was like, this is good.
Wow.
This is good shit. And then like she would do like the caramel apples. Now
I have 2 kettle corns, 1 caramel apple.
1 caramel apple with extra caramel. But it's
50 Capri Suns
and a large Snickers.
All that caramel, you're gonna be thirsty. Now, I mean, like Capri Sun juice with caramel sounds awful. But it's like, did you ever go to a birthday party as a kid? They had like the chocolate cake and like cherry Kool-Aid, and you're like, who are you people? Like, how am I supposed to deal with this? I can't drink this with this cake.
Like, at least give me some water to break it up.
I know. I was always the weird kid who was like, can I have some water, please? And I was the only one at every party.
I need like that hydration, bro. No, but okay, so that was the thing. Like, you have that. And you know, we weren't worried about her sticking like razor blades in the apples. Or needles in the kettle corn. Like, we didn't. No, so like we didn't even.
Needles in the kettle corn.
Yeah, like we didn't even, like, whatever.
She's scooping it out. She just got a kettle full of needles and corn. Like, how is she doing this with no one noticing?
That's like fucking crazy, man. And so it's like, okay, whatever. We didn't bother checking that shit. We knew her. She'd make like sourdough bread and stuff. She was beast.
In the kettle?
No, in the
That's
oven.
A lot of bread. Kettle bread.
Ooh, that actually sounds kind of cool. I'm back to
it's never gonna bake all the way through. It's gonna be black on the outside before
I smack you. I smack you. But it's like, okay, so if you have a package, just like, you know, like you buy the big bag of candy, all the candy inside of it is like wrapped individually, so you know, like that's what you pass out. Well, as a kid, if it was already open, I probably didn't want to eat it anyways because it was probably like nasty. Because, you know, like, you melt, and it would pour out, the package would get sticky. I didn't want any of that.
Yeah.
But then you had stuff like jawbreakers, and I love jawbreakers. Like, how are you going to tamper with a jawbreaker? Even if it was the Fallout, it's a jawbreaker. It's just
a little bit of jawbreaker, but it's actually a marble dipped in a little bit of jawbreaker.
Yeah. Like,
I don't know.
I'm still going to suck on it for a while before I try to crush it. And if it's a Marvel, I probably would crush it. ruin your teeth that way, kids.
Mm.
But you know, it's like
Ruin
if
the
you
day.
know, that's the kind of thing, and like for my sister didn't care. She'd if it was a decorated piece of shit, she'd probably put that in her face. So I can understand. Oh, you got to check the candy because some kids don't care or pay attention. But at the same time, it's like, what exactly are you paying attention for?
Well, I'm gonna get the entire history of this wrong because I wasn't alive when it happened, and I only like vaguely remember the details of it from reading about it. But there was a story in, I feel like it was the late 80s, maybe mid 80s, on like 2020 or Nightline or one of those like scare the old people kind of shows. The same thing we have to blame for you can't eat eggs because they might have E. coli in them, even though it was like 7 dozen eggs ever. That's an underestimation, but it was a very small amount in one region of the country from one particular farm, and it panicked the hell out of everybody, and it was wrong. It's just scaring the public. Like, it's not new that news scares the public deliberately for rating purposes. You know, it's a common stand-up joke like, what
Clickbait.
item in your house will kill you? Film at 11. Like that, you know, and this is at like 4:30 in the afternoon. Like, we're gonna get you to watch the news because you
might die.
So it was a story like that. It was really not a big deal. It was one confined area, and there was like 5 apples probably that had a razor blade in them, and I don't know that there was ever any poison candy. You know, it's significantly smaller even than the Tylenol poisoning was, and even that was in a small area of the country. So it was never a big deal, but it just scared everybody, and everybody just continues to believe it and think that it's a real thing, the same way that there's someone waiting in the bushes across the street to snatch the kids the moment you look away, and that's not true either. So, you know, even if you don't have bushes across the street, there's still someone hiding right there and you just can't see them, and they're still going to snatch the kids the moment you look away. Like, most of those things are much over-feared from their actual reality. And the poison candy and the razor blades and that are the same thing. There's no razor blades in the apples. Who even gives apples at Halloween anymore? Apples aren't cheap either. Are Capri Suns really that expensive? I haven't bought any in years,
Yeah.
but...
I can remember there being like, depending on the kind that you got, like it was like $4 for 6 or
Yeah.
$5 for like the special stuff.
I mean, I know
That's
that I
ridiculous.
guess I know they were expensive enough that as a kid, I basically only ever had Capri Suns at someone else's house. Like, we never really had them because we
Yeah.
didn't have money.
Uh-huh.
So I guess maybe they were, but I mean, this is in the 90s when they first came out. So I don't know how much they were then compared to now, but I feel like they were expensive. You know, it's not like it's 35 cents for a packet of Kool-Aid or something, and then you still have to pay for the water.
And the sugar.
And the sugar, yeah. Well, I guess,
You
yeah.
gotta add
do have
sugar to the
that's right.
Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
You know, there's people who are angry at you right now for not even knowing that.
I don't make Kool-Aid very much. I did make that like double strength blue, some like special sour flavored Kool-Aid a few months ago though, so I guess I did add sugar to that. But I just don't think about Kool-Aid that much. I don't make it how it says because it feels all watered down, and they just have like flashbacks of birthday parties with super sweet cake and only Kool-Aid to drink. And how am I going to?
You know, that's something else. It's like they talk about people, white people, not knowing how to make Kool-Aid.
White people.
But at the same time, it's like the same thing. It was like white people don't know how to season food, and I'm like, all right. You listen here. I am confused and don't understand because my family was like such complete opposite that if you say white people can't season food, I was dying because it was so over seasoned that I couldn't feel my mouth because it's just on fire. It's like just taking like a raw cayenne pepper and just rubbing it all over the chicken breast or something. Like, it's crazy.
I don't think that works, but
I'm saying it's to create an image in your head. Or like, how much sugar are you supposed to put per packet of Kool-Aid, and then
at least twice
water?
as much as it says. Iced tea is the same way. Tea, as we say in the South, because you don't have, or I guess you say iced tea. You don't say sweet tea. You might say tea. You might say iced tea. You don't say sweet tea because of course it's sweet because it's the South. Because I feel like this white people can't season food thing is not a Southern thing. It's like everybody in the South can cook food.
Yeah.
So, you know, I feel like that's a rest of the country white people thing. So
maybe it's Northerns or something.
Yeah.
Northerners or I don't know because it's
them Northerners.
It's like you did like the barbecue kind of jokes. I'm like,
Barbecue?
no,
Yeah.
because Uncle Bob will probably beat your ass because he's too drunk because he's already on his 30th beer, and of course we ended up having to get like 6 of those packs.
Barbecue?
I mean, I'm just saying.
Uncle Barbecue. Which I feel like if I could do a legitimate Louisiana accent, I could make much more convincing as a phrase, but I can't, and I will not try and be offensive in so failing. So
Yeah, I just kind of wish that some of these things like kind of narrow it down a little bit so I can understand like the demographic that you're actually kind of picking on.
You need a Pew Research study or something.
Yeah.
I don't even have the thing here because I was going to play it. But
Just because like some of it, like, I can understand some, and then some confuses me, and so I don't even know.
Well, I mean, of course, everything is generalized. When we say
Darren, what's that demographic? Black people.
that's an oversimplification in a broad stroke, so we don't mean it that way, and neither did they, because it's a joke.
Exactly.
But I mean, when you just say, if we're gonna say, white people is most of the people in the U.S., then you can't just say white people because there's too many in too many different areas for them to all be the same as anybody else. So people are different in different places.
I'll tell you one
regardless
thing.
of other
I ain't
criteria.
like the white
so.
people in Florida. Jesus Christ.
I mean,
if you don't understand that, pull up whatever you can get on the internet with, and then type in news article space Florida space, and then let it autofill.
Well, sure.
And you will have entertainment for the rest of the day.
I mean, there's a whole subreddit called that's r/Florida man because there's just so much headlining that begins with that.
Yeah, just
so
go there.
Just go there. To go to r/Florida. And I don't recommend Reddit typically, but just if you don't know about Florida, you might as well. And you're probably on Reddit anyway because you're like white and northern and millennial and probably liberal, so you're probably already there. Just
that's fine.
Tap over to Florida man. So,
or you could be black.
I mean, you could be.
We don't give a shit what color you are. We just thank you for listening to the show.
We do. And get off Reddit.
Reddit's fine.
Yeah.
I don't really do Reddit, but that's okay.
No. I mean, you don't want to do Reddit. You don't know where Reddit's been.
That's true. There's some shit on Reddit.
Well, it's part of the internet, and there's stuff on the internet generally. So
I wonder if this movie's on the internet.
I'm sure it is.
I'm talking about like a good copy, not like someone recorded it on VHS.
Well, it only exists on VHS and VCD. Like that's all there is, unless they brought out their 35 millimeter camera, set it up in the movie theater prior to a screening of Thinner, and got a good clean copy of it. Then, or they have an original film print of it from one of those Thinner screenings. Then that's all there is.
You listen here now. I was gonna make a joke about filming something that's on tape.
I feel like I just did.
Like somebody pulls out their 8 millimeter and just records it while it's on the TV playing. Well, Grandma's letting us borrow the VHS, but we got to return it. She really likes Michael Jackson. I don't know why you're recording it on Super 8.
Yeah, Super 8 off of a CRT. Sounds super hipster.
Tell you what, we'll play a game. Anybody here like games? Hello? Game time!
So how do you feel about Stars?
I give it a 4. It was pretty entertaining.
It was.
Yeah.
I give it a 4. Yeah.
I mean, I'll probably never watch it again.
Sure. You're not gonna watch it every Halloween.
No. I will probably never watch it again.
It's not the Die Hard of Halloween.
No, it is not the Die Hard of Halloween.
Incidentally, Die Hard is not the Die Hard of Christmas either.
I'll kill you.
I know. Oh, that's super disappointing. It's not there because I buried it under Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
Yeah, well, okay,
Matt Damon is Jason Bourne.
What I was looking for was "You Will Kill Me"
with bazookas.
There. So what about scariness? Incidentally, the original working title of the project before it had the name that it has was "Is It Scary?"
That's
So.
a terrible name.
I know it is. Well, I mean, it's
a good thing
thematically like it's
a good
it's
thing.
related to the story. He asks if it's scary yet, so
That's a terrible name for a movie.
it
though.
is a terrible name for a movie.
Even a short film. I'm
Yeah.
glad they changed it. I'll probably give this a 2. I'll give this a 2. This is it's not so much scary as it's like, woo, that's scary. And I think that earns more than some of the other movies that we've seen. They're just not scary. They're just dumb. I can't be scared if I'm angry.
Well, are you sure?
Hey, do you remember when we saw it?
Well, yeah.
I just wanted to do summer things, and then my friend punches me in the face, and then I gotta walk through shitty water, and now I gotta kill this fucking clown!
In summer, Olaf would say.
Yeah.
So, go back, listen to the Frozen episode. It's episode 7 or something, whatever letter of the alphabet F is.
6?
6? I don't even know. A, B, C, D, E, F. 6. Yeah, there it is.
Ha!
Ha! The thing I think it's like, there's not that much that's actually like, it's scary! Even though there's like, is it scary yet? And I will say, which is the thing you don't say anymore, and I've taken over saying occasionally, yes, well, that if it was like, if you were one of the townsfolk it was happening to, it would be like you are unconscious now because your brain shut down. Like, because there's some freaky stuff happening in real life to you.
I don't know about that. Like, they all smiles and dancing, and
Not all the time.
It's like,
Even dancing ghosts are still ghosts, and all of a sudden, ghosts are real.
I don't care about no ghosts.
I'm free to know ghosts.
Yeah. But yes, that's the kind of thing. Is like, if I show up in a mansion with all these other people, and it's just like, oh yeah, I'm Michael Jackson. I'm gonna turn like my face into like putty. Here, is this scary? Like,
Putty.
I'm not gonna say it's scary.
Buddy.
I'm gonna say it's kind of freaky because I've seen some shit.
That's
I've
pretty
been on the
freaky, yeah.
internet. And then it's gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna summon all these ghosts. I'm gonna be like, that's really cool. Like how you do that hand stuff, and like that ghost just came out the fire.
Hand stuff?
That's sweet. How'd you do that? And it's like, oh, I'm actually a dancing skeleton. I'll be like, that's double cool because I like skeletons and it's dancing. So that we got like crazy like lich magic going on. Like, how can I get in on this? And then it's like, oh, we got this sweet choreography. I'm like, oh, well, maybe they were dancers, and then they died in a bus crash or something. I'm like, I'm more curious than I'm scared.
They're a bus. It's like not moose and a wood chipper. It's a busload of dancers into some form of
Like
death. I don't know.
off of just a cliff.
Like it really is Michael Jackson, and they were on the tour bus, and then something tragic happened, and they moved into this house in this weird town. Which okay, well, hang on. I got something to go back to. I'll finish this part because we're in here. The thing that is a little bit creepy to me in like a real way is when at the end when he's like, all right, and he's like bangs his head into the ground, and then he like starts to like chip away as if he's made of dust or chalk or ceramic or something.
Yeah.
Like that is a thing that kind of does bother me a little bit. So that part is a little bit legitimately scary. But the other thing is they're like, this is a normal town. We don't have
Goddamn freaks.
here. But this weird creepy house it's not like, where did this creepy house appear from? This guy is living in it who we've never heard of. It's not like what was it? The Bat, Vincent Price, The Bat, where it's like this house is on the edge of town. Which I guess it is like that, but we don't know who's living it. No one's ever seen him.
But it's like, now we know someone is, and they're a freak. And like, okay, so like,
but it's like they don't think the house is freaky by itself, but it's like, this is a weird, creepy house.
Yeah,
this is in this town. This is not a normal town. No, I mean, even without that, just the house itself is like old and weird and creepy. So your normal town is not as normal as you thought, or as you're trying to say to him it is to make him get out.
You're lying to yourself.
Yeah.
And what are these kids doing? Like, these kids seem to know who this guy is.
Yeah, well, I think they've been hanging out around the house. It does seem like one of the kids told one of the parents that, like, hey, this guy that lives in the creepy house on the edge of town does this, like, crazy magic stuff. because he gets like slapped over the head by the other kids, and then they're like, "Don't slap the other kids," and the kid gets slapped, and then she gets slapped by the ghost magic later. But it's not. It's like your town is weird. You're just lying. It turns out your mayor is also Michael Jackson, so it's hard to get out of that. Just as an additional bit of context and history, apparently in 2002, the Guinness Book of World Records gave this a record as the longest music video in history, which may have been subsequently superseded. I'm not sure. It doesn't say here that it has. And also, that almost kind of feels like cheating because it's not a music video for the whole time. Except, and as I said, the like version of the music video that Michael Jackson invented, where sometimes there's music happening and sometimes there's short film stuff happening. Which kind of starts in Thriller, escalates in the Bad video, and then has sort of a weird, there's dancing but there's no music thing in the long bit at the end of the so-called Panther version of the Black or White video, which was banned from TV because he's violent, because he's beating up a car and stuff. Whatever. Also available on Laserdisc. Yeah, that's all I have to say about Michael Jackson's Ghosts. We'll see you next time. What do you have up your sleeves you aren't wearing over there with that grin in? Yes, well.
Later.
You know what nobody is?
What?
A slave to the rhythm.